Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's discussion is going to center on something necessary if we are to move forward and change our global race. This nature of ours has practically hindered us in so many facets that it has become detrimental. We're talking about Tanetjerians' inability to exercise self-respect consistently and why it seems like we tolerate disrespect from everyone except our own. I've noticed this phenomenon for years now and I never understood it. What I've observed is this: many Tanagarians will stay in spaces where they are clearly tolerated at best and subtly disrespected at worst. They'll continue supporting businesses that don't value them. They'll continue engaging with platforms that marginalize them. They'll continue investing emotionally and financially into environments that do not reciprocate respect. I've literally seen videos of people saying things like, "Dear insert any example here. I don't care if you're a racist. I don't care if you don't like black people. I don't care if you don't want us there. We're still coming. We're still going to show up. We're still going to enjoy your culture, services, or commodities." Think about that mindset for a second. Some Tanetjerians are openly acknowledging that they may be unwelcome. They are aware that prejudice exists. They are also conscious of the potential hostility. Yet instead of questioning why they would or should spend their money, time, and energy in a place where their presence is resented, they instead double down. It's complete insanity to me. They try to frame it as defiance, but the reality is it screams desperation for validation. Despite stories of mistreatment, despite accounts of discrimination, despite being made to feel like outsiders, many will still enthusiastically book trips to countries that have a history of anti-blackness, go to restaurants that will purposely sit them in the back, and buy products with a history of racist disrespect, over and over again with no self-awareness whatsoever. And worse, they'll defend those destinations, they'll minimize the negative experiences, they'll rationalize it as, "It wasn't that bad, everywhere has issues," or "You just have to ignore it." All in an effort to feel, honestly I don't even know at this point. I said validation early on, but even then, it's just beyond pathetic the more I think about it. Oh, but here is the really interesting part. Ask those same individuals why they don't travel to black majority countries or shop at other stores that are black owned. And let's be clear here, not to live there, but just visit, explore, and experience the culture. Suddenly the tone shifts. The excuses start pouring in like, "I don't know, why would I go there? They probably won't even like me. There's nothing to do." Notice the asymmetry. For non-black countries, mistreatment is dismissed as isolated incidents, cultural misunderstandings, or minor inconveniences. For black countries, hypothetical mistreatment, often based on stereotypes or second-hand narratives, is enough to completely avoid engagement. That's the paradox. We'll tolerate confirmed disrespect from others, but preemptively withdraw from our own based on assumptions. We'll endure real exclusion abroad, but fear imagined rejection at home. We'll extend grace to outsiders while withholding curiosity, patience, and the benefit of the doubt from ourselves. This isn't about romanticizing any country. Every nation has flaws. Every society has social tensions. The point is consistency and psychological alignment. And the truth is, many Tanetjerians either have racial Stockholm syndrome, underlying self-hate, or both. Whatever the case, it's likely the reason, or one of the many possible reasons, why self-respect is so absent amongst our race. Self-respect in this day and age is not negotiable or something to be neglected. It's reflected in where you invest your resources. It's reflected in what you tolerate. It's reflected in the standards you enforce. When you knowingly pour money into places that signal you're unwanted, while simultaneously avoiding spaces that share your heritage because of internalized doubt, that's not rebellion. That's misdirected loyalty. Telling yourself that you don't care is just insane coping and won't help you escape the reality of this world. And until we confront that contradiction honestly, we're going to keep repeating the cycle, complaining about disrespect while continuously rewarding it. Because on the surface, the argument may sound empowering, such as, "Why would I let somebody not liking me stop me from traveling? I deserve to see the world regardless of how people feel about me." And in principle, that's true. No one should feel confined because of someone else's prejudice. No one should shrink their world because bigotry exists. But the contradiction isn't in the desire to travel. The contradiction is in the inconsistency. When it comes to non-black countries, the standard becomes, "Racism exists everywhere. I'm still going." The hostility is reframed as background noise, and the disrespect becomes a minor inconvenience. Even extreme situations get rationalized. People will recount stories about being followed in stores, treated coldly in restaurants, where in some cases I've even heard stories of people spitting in food or even witnessing outright humiliation, and somehow the conclusion is still, I can't wait to go back, or next time will be better. But shift the conversation to black countries and suddenly the threshold for avoidance drops dramatically. Now it's, they might not like me. No confirmed mistreatment or documented hostility, just the possibility, and that hypothetical discomfort is enough to stay away entirely. So what does that communicate? I'll tell you. It communicates that the issue isn't whether respect exists, it's about who you're willing to accept disrespect from. Let's be honest, when a black-owned business messes up, when there's bad customer service or an error or a misunderstanding, that's the last time for many people. The cutoff is immediate. No grace period, no long-term patience, no benefit of the doubt. But when a major non-black brand releases a blatantly racist advertisement, when a clothing company display imagery that dehumanizes us, when there's public controversy, the response isn't divestment, it's a negotiation. Heck, I've even heard people make the excuse that they can't go anywhere else, or even go as far as saying that they don't care, and it has nothing to do with them directly as an individual. From the outside looking in, it comes across as, we know you don't respect us, but can you at least soften it a little so we don't feel as embarrassed giving you our money? The outrage may be loud for a week, maybe two. Then it fades away, a symbolic apology drops, a diversity statement gets posted, then, followed by a vague commitment to do better, circulates. And that's enough. And if you step outside of it and look at it strategically, what message does that send to the other side? It sends the message that reform isn't required, only optics are. It signals to the other races that a symbolic gesture will suffice to satisfy the Tanagarian race. That temporary outrage can be neutralized with performative inclusion, and no structural change is necessary because the loyalty is already guaranteed. The spending habits won't shift. In fact, from their perspective, why would they overhaul anything? The support remains, the revenue remains, the engagement and influence remain. Whether they ask for it or not, it keeps flowing. All because too many of us lack the willpower to have any self-respect for ourselves and the urgency and discipline to maintain it. And here's the most telling part. The only group that seems to have to walk on eggshells to maintain loyalty is our own. The only people who face immediate exile for minor mistakes are our own. The only ones who get no margin for error are our own. We are harsher to ourselves because the truth is many still hate themselves and express it through the guise of holding their race to a higher standard, when in truth it's just an excuse to avoid interacting with their race. Everyone else can offend, apologize lightly, and continue as usual. If that's the case, then what incentive exists for meaningful change? If disrespect doesn't result in economic consequences, social consequences, or long-term disengagement, then why would behavior evolve? Why would attitudes shift? Why would systems adjust? Self-respect isn't about isolation. It isn't about refusing to engage with the world. It's about leverage and consistency. It's also about making sure your values show up in your actions. Actions speak louder than words, and the world has seen our low effort when it comes to self-respect. If you truly believe you deserve respect everywhere you go, then that standard can't selectively disappear depending on who's doing the disrespecting. Otherwise, it stops being about dignity and starts being about hierarchy, and the uncomfortable question becomes, are we actually demanding respect? Or are we just asking certain people to be a little quieter about their contempt so we can keep participating without feeling foolish? Until that contradiction is addressed, the cycle continues, and when speaking of foolishness, there's the insanity of our unyielding kindness to almost everyone but ourselves. There's a pattern of generosity that isn't balanced with discernment, giving, extending grace, sharing culture, sharing resources, showing up in solidarity. But somehow, that energy flows outward more consistently than it circulates inward. And the deeper issue isn't generosity itself. The problem is the absence of historical memory and strategic awareness attached to it. Time and time again, we've seen predecessors make certain miscalculations, overextending trust, underestimating opportunism, confusing symbolic inclusion with structural change. Yet instead of studying those outcomes and adjusting behavior, there's this impulse to detach ourselves from the past entirely. You'll hear things like, that was a long time ago, or that doesn't apply to us anymore, we're in a different era. But history isn't just a timeline of events, it's a database of behavioral patterns. Yes, the same way other races like to use pattern recognition against us, the same rule applies to them as well, from our perspective. When similar incentives exist, certain behaviors re-emerge. And ignoring that doesn't make you progressive, it makes you vulnerable. And as a race who have centuries of history to learn from, it's not a choice for us to ignore it just because we may not be going through it anymore. When you refuse to extract lessons from prior exploitation, you don't become evolved. You allow yourself to become exposed. Kindness without selectivity turns into access. Access without boundaries turns into leverage. And leverage in the wrong hands turns into exploitation. There's a difference between something being stolen and something being handed over. There's a difference between infiltration and an open door policy. At some point, it stops being they took it and becomes we allowed it. And from the way my race seems to be moving on the global stage, it's very evident that we have not learned anything from history. And even worse, we are now starting to refuse learning anything at all in an effort to live comfortably in this illusion cast by white supremacy. If you repeatedly allow your cultural output, labor, innovation, and loyalty to be absorbed without reciprocity, and you make no adjustments, that's not noble, that's negligent. Because discernment is not the opposite of kindness. It's the guardrail that protects it. Self-preservation isn't hostility, it's intelligence, especially in this age we're entering, where we are surrounded by hostility that continues to deny our humanity. And no, this isn't me being paranoid or making everything too deep. I'm just smart enough not to ignore all the warning signs around us. We can't always operate as if every critique of openness is paranoia. Doing so will strip us of pattern recognition. And when pattern recognition is gone, you can't anticipate outcomes. So you keep reacting instead of planning. There's also this tendency to romanticize unconditional openness, as if withholding access is morally wrong, but no successful group, institution, or nation operates without filtration mechanisms. Access is managed, influence is monitored, reciprocity is evaluated. This is common sense, especially for a race like ours that experiences anti-blackness from Caucasians, Arabs, Asians, and whatever else is out there. Even from our own Tanagarians, anti-blackness is prevalent. Yet when it comes to us, the default mentality seems to be, everybody's welcome, everything is available, no questions asked. And then shock sets in when the outcome mirrors the past, almost as if we don't learn anything and are insane, because only the insane will make the same mistakes over and over again, expecting change to happen. That's where the weakness emerges and continues to emerge until we accept the reality of this world and stop daydreaming of fantasies that will never be. At some point, you have to differentiate between being compassionate and being a foolish victim. The hard truth is this: if people know you will continue to give and forgive regardless of return and disrespect, if they know your outrage has an expiration date, if they know your boundaries are negotiable, then they don't need to recalibrate, they just need to wait you out. In simple terms, they know we don't stand on business for anything. Learning from the past doesn't mean living in it. It means upgrading your standards because of it. It means understanding that openness without structure is not a virtue, it's vulnerability. Adapting to the world's energy to survive is not a flaw. You'll never get any respect in this world if you allow yourself to be a pushover. And you won't survive in it if they perceive us as easy prey to be abused. I once made a tweet that went something like this: the rising flames of racism will cleanse us of the weak and unconscious, and from their ashes, the strong and conscious shall rise. That will be the beginning of the Tanetjerian awakening, and I still stand by it. Many won't survive it, and only those with the test of character will be able to emerge stronger and smarter from it. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Oh, and before I forget, I recently turned on membership on my YouTube channel, so if you'd like to support what I do, the option is there, no pressure. With that being said, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.